Nana Bonsu, Mama Edwards, Patrice Lumumba, Thomas Sankara, and Queen Mother Moore, and Dr. Khalid Mohammed.
Sisini Kitu Kimoja.
MJ Mahami.
Ninaomba ya Santiwa, Sojourner Truth, Amilcar Cabral, Patrice Lumumba, Sisini Kitu Kimoja.
Beautiful. And now that we've given thanks to those ancestors who wish to call upon and inspire us, we call upon those ancestors who, unfortunately, we don't always know their names, or there's too many to mention. Ninaomba Mababuya Mangamazi.
Sisini Kitu Kimoja.
Ninaomba Mababuya Gulavita, Takivita, Asian Revolution, 80 Kingdom of Empire of Freedom, Kingdom of 80. Sisini Kitu
Kimoja.
Ninaomba Mababuya Watiya, First Nations of Australia, Papuans, Melanesians, Tasmanians, Indus Kush. Sisini
Kitu Kimoja.
Ninaomba Mababuya Wanachamaya, PSM, ASHA, MPLA, SWAPO, Universal Negro Improvement Association, African Communities League, Kenyan Freedom and Land Army, Black Panther Party, Self-Defense.
Sisini Kitu Kimoja.
Ninaomba Mababuya Mataifia Aseti, Nubia, Kemet, Kush, Mikuria, Awa, Cuba, Shangamaya Dynasty, Mosi, Zulu, Zimbabwe, Maroons, Caribbean, North America, and South America.
Sisini Kitu Kimoja.
Ninaomba Mababuya Watiya, the first civilizers, the first people, Khoisan, Twa, Nahutu. Sisini Kitu
Kimoja.
Ninaomba wanaishi ambao watatetea sisi, na wale mababu ambao bado hawajazaliwa. I call upon those living that defend us and those ancestors yet to be born. Sisini
Kitu Kimoja.
And we end on the words of power and vibration on the screen. So, MJ Mami, would you please lead us?
Mapenzi wote ni mapenzi yangu.
Mapenzi wote ni mapenzi yangu.
Hakuna mwanzo na hakuna mwisho.
Hakuna mwanzo na hakuna mwisho.
Naomba ufahamu wangu ya wote uendelee kukua.
Naomba ufahamu wangu ya wote uendelee kukua.
Nguvu zote kwa watu wetu.
Nguvu zote kwa watu wetu.
Anuk, amen.
Anuk, amen.
The will of the all is my will. There is no beginning and there is no end. May my understanding of the all continue to grow. All power to our people. I am, amen.
Asante sana, Mama. Okay, so I will bring. So, Sante, let me just do this. Right. Now, just seeing if. Right, okay. Now, Baba Jamaladi, it seems that Dr. Asha has dropped out. If you could, there she is. I'm bringing her back into the stream. Okay, wonderful. Okay, again, greetings all. Can we just do a sound check? Just to let you greet to the people, the audience.
Hojab community, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine, my brother. Thank you, Dr. Shop. Dr. Asha and Baba
Greetings,
James.
family.
And
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Greetings.
yes,
yes.
hear you beautifully. Yep, wonderful.
Jumbo, can you hear me, everyone?
Yep, hear you. That's fantastic. I found Tisana Elder Small. Brother Shanice. We can't quite hear you.
Greetings, family. Greetings.
Fantastic.
Welcome, one and all.
Beautiful, wonderful. Asante Sana. Right, so to continue with the rest of the day and the celebration of Africa Liberation Day, our launch event, Pan Congress Movement's launch event. We're just going to show a presentation now just to introduce everybody and why we're here and what we mean by the Grand African Renaissance. So let me just present that. Okay, wonderful. That should be all on screen. Everyone can see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, wonderful. Okay, right, we'll continue. So as you can see, Pan African Congress Movement, African Liberation Day 2023, and the question that we are looking at today is how do we support the Grand African Renaissance individually and as a people? So, who are the Pan African Congress Movement? We are a revolutionary Pan-African organization holding to the principles and practice of race first. Revolutionary Pan-Africanism is the political expression which takes many forms, but always seeks to defend the humanity and sovereignty of the African masses of the world against domination and exploitation. PACM is a national organization of the African masses. That it is only by adopting revolutionary Pan-Africanism that we can realize the aim of total liberation. This year, we observe African Liberation Day at this launch event, and on Monday, May the 29th, at the West Indian Centre, 74 Carmel Road in Manchester, M13 0FB. And that's going to be from 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. and doors opening at 10 a.m. So if you are in the UK and you can reach, please do. And this year's theme, as you can see, is the Grand African Renaissance Part 2. So what is African Liberation Day? African Liberation Day was officially designated as May 25th by the Liberation Committee of the Organization of African Unity in 1963. It's been organized in this country by the PACM and its predecessor, the Pan-African Committee, since 1975. And many other organizations also celebrate the African Liberation Day, and we give honor and thanks to all of them and all the activists and workers who, wherever they may be, and those who are just in their own homes doing so. But today's esteemed panelists, so we have Sister Shanice Lindsay, the host of the YouTube channel, The Sister Shanice Show, which brings independent news reporting from an African-centered perspective. Sister Shanice is also the author of the book Anglo-Saxon England, King Offa, and as I said, she's based in Gambia. We have a dear Reverend Dr. Philippe Shock Matthews. Is a philosopher, African phenomenologist, meticist, metaphysician, and one of the world's leading authorities on Black trauma and economic ambiguous loss. His best-selling book, Digital Nomics, introduced his walk-away wealth system and his 4 metaphysical frequencies and 4 traumas. Dr. Shock is the founding minister of First Frequency of Oneness, Science, Manifestation, and Prosperity. The community affectionately names him the metaphysical Morpheus. He is based in California on the west coast of the US. Dr. Asha Stephanie Wudasi is the founder of Living Your Best Life in Africa, an online side hustle and small business coaching service. Dr. Asha is an African-centered talk therapist and qualified therapeutic social worker with over 25 years in the profession. Dr. Asha is the founding member of Community organizations like the Nine-Bingi National Council, the Southern African Nine-Bingi Council, Per Ankh Community Enterprise, and the Global African People's Parliament, all organizations with a keen interest in giving voice to the African self-determinatory activism. Dr. Asher continues to promote the importance of giving voice to marginalized communities and recently took her practice and vision to Malawi, where she now lives. And what I'm going to do is, Baba Smalls, you're here, but if you could, just for those who, I'm sure there's not many who don't know you, if you could just give a small, because I know that you have to go in a little bit of while, but if you could just give a short bio of yourself and the greetings to the Pan-African audience across the world.
Yes, please. I'm Professor James Small. I'm probably the elder on the panel. Former Imam of the Muslim Mosque, Inc., founded by Malcolm X. Current Eastern Regional and International President of the OAU, founded by Malcolm X. As most people think we're too silent to be real. One of the founders and sub-chair of the Sons of Africa, and the former professor at the City University of New York. That should cover it, I'm also an entrepreneur and an owner of the Sana Lodge Hotel in Cape Coast, Ghana, West Africa.
That's Auntie Sana. And if you go onto the description in YouTube, you'll see that and more about the elder there. Okay, wonderful, Auntie Sana. So on Monday, we'll be having reasonings on the topics of mental health and youth. And also the keynote speaker is Ndugu Robin Walker, and Brother Robin, Ndugu Robin is an educator, publisher, and founder of The Black Secret, which is the most detailed Black history and African heritage education program in existence. The title of his lecture will be The New Renaissance in Black History Research, how the study of Black history has changed since the age of Aquarius. So, Grand African Renaissance. The PACM is promoting the theme of the Grand African Renaissance for a number of successive ALD conferences. So last year we started, so this is why it's part 2 this year. And what do we mean by the Grand African Renaissance? We mean the following. Since the Persian invasion of Kemet, ancient Egypt and Sudan in 525 BC, there's now been a slow but steady loss of our way for Africans globally. By loss of our way, we mean in terms of moving away from our authentic African culture. Hence, we are losing who we truly are in terms of spirituality, languages, economics, politics, health, entertainment, education, labor, law, sex, and war. And as we can see, we got 9 of those categories from our dear elder and scholar Neely Fuller, and there's his book there, the Independent Code for Victims of White Supremacy. If you haven't got it, it's very hard to get sometimes now. It's definitely it's a classic you must get. The foundation of authentic African culture is communalism. In Africa and everywhere we migrated to, we use communalism to organize our societies. Communalism is where property was collectively owned, people were the custodians of land, not owners, work was done in common to benefit all, and goods were shared equally. Further, Africans kept to the African constitution as described by our great ancestor, Chancellor Williams, you can see there, in his book, The Destruction of Black Civilization, Great Issues of Race from 4500 BC to 2000 AD. This constitution guided Africans to have practical societies. They followed natural laws so that order and justice prevailed, as the societies would not have survived if they did not. The governments were of the people, by the people, in practice, not in theory and in intention only, as explained by the elders Chancellor Williams and Mfugishi Jitimus Ka Nharu Kasan K. Salim. The African Constitution had the following essential features. Our main love was the worship of nature, the creator, the all, for self-perfection, as nature is science and we learn through self-understanding. We were monotheistic. We believed in the principle of the all. In other words, the oneness of the hidden, absolute, and formless creator. We had no guilt of our existence and no original sin. We had an optimistic view of existence. We believed in the laws of reciprocity and truth and harmony, balance, natural order, and love of the all, which is the nature or the creator, known as Ma'at. We believed in the ancestors and the spirit world as part of the whole. The constitution developed in leaderless, chiefless societies, where the elders were the oppressors or the overseers of land distribution to families. The people were the first and final source of power, as we were all recognized as sparks of the boundless creator, the all. The rights of the community were superior to those of any individual, including royalty, leaders, and elders, etc., both male and female. Royalty, leaders, and elders were under the law, not above it. Royalty, leaders, and elders were the elected representatives of the people and instruments for executing their will. Government and the people were one and the same. The family was recognized as the primary social, judicial, economic, and political unit in societies. The elder of each extended family was its chosen representative. The elders made decisions in councils. The leaders must remain silent during the council debate, as the decision was the will of the people. Each family had a right to land to meet their needs, which was free of charge, which was passed on to their descendants forever. All monies, gifts, taxes, and other forms of donations to the leaders still belong to the people for their relief or aid in times of need. Each family policed itself. Each male and female age group policed itself, so that there was little or nothing the community as a whole had to do. Each group elected its own leaders. These met with other age group leaders on community matters that cut across the age group lines. Now, Arab and European enslavement has particularly hastened our inability to maintain our African culture. However, as explained by the genius ancestor Chancellor Williams, followed by Walter Rodney in his book, How Europe Undeveloped Africa, before enslavement began under the Arabs in 643 BCE, our societies had already begun to move away from communalism and the African constitution to the system of feudalism. There you can see the seminal book by our great elder, Walter Rodney. Feudalism is the social organization in which royalty owned the land, not the people. The royalty gave leaders and chiefs land in exchange for their military service. The people were turned into tenants of the leaders and chiefs and had to live on their leaders' land and pay them homage, labor, and a share of the produce in exchange for military protection. If they refused, they could leave and start their own community, but in retaliation, their leader could make war upon them and turn them into prisoners of war. Further, in this period, prisoners of war were enslaved. Although they kept their identity, humanity, and their condition was not permanent. The difference between that idea of enslavement and that and of chattel slavery. The adopting of feudalism and slavery was caused by focusing less on self-perfection and more on satisfying material desires, external attacks from foreigners, and environmental changes like desertification, both of which led to migration to protect ourselves. But each time we migrated, we remembered a little less. This move to a moral form of society over thousands of years weakened our civilization so that over centuries, our enemies could take advantage of our weakened states, enslave us, impose colonialism, and later neocolonialism. However, from November 2011, we have entered into the age of Aquarius, a universal and spiritual age of enlightenment for the next 26,000 years, arising from the previous age of Pisces, where for the last 2,000 years, all existence has experienced an age of degradation and confusion, demonstrated by our move away from our authentic African culture. So this new age of Aquarius will bring enlightenment for those open to it, but our world will see seismic change and upheaval in all areas of life. For example, the last 3 years. To manage this change and to thrive during it, we Africans must have a grand African renaissance or grand African renewal or rebirth as individuals and as a people, so that we may return to our authentic African culture and modernize it so that we may manifest our Pan-African ideals. This grand African renaissance will not be achieved overnight and has to focus on the following areas. Again, what we began with: spirituality, languages, health, economics, politics, entertainment, education, labor law, sex, and war. However, the journey of 10,000 miles begins with the first step. So the PACM will focus on the Grand African Renaissance at each ALD. We will focus on how to achieve this essential task by focusing on these specific areas of our lives at each conference, so that we may propose practical solutions to tackle our improvement in these areas individually and as a group. At each ALD, we will review the progress we have made year on year. We will do this jointly with like-minded Africans and African organizations in the UK and globally, as the sum of our parts are greater than our individual efforts. Hence, this panel that we have today to discuss the topic. Nguvu zote kwa watu wetu, hakuna mwanzo na hakuna mwisho. All power to our people. There is no beginning and there is no end. Okay, asante sana, everyone. So I am now going to enter the full screen. So that gives you what we are talking about. And I believe that Sister Shanice is having a little problems with her feed, and I'm going to bring her back into the stream. And let us get this out, remove. Right, there we go. So we are discussing how do we support the Grand African Renaissance, both individually and as a people. So this is a discussion after that presentation, so we're all on the same page by what we are meaning by that. But I throw that open to the panel to start. But I know that Elder Small has already given his apology because for other reasons that he can't stay with us too much longer. But we'll take the benefit of his wisdom and of his dedication to us all for being here. And first, I'll start with you, Elder. So, how do we support the Grand African Renaissance, both individually as a people, as a people? What would you like to add to that, to our concept, and where do we begin? How should we start?
Well, first, let me thank you for the outline of the Constitution and the wisdom. The key thing is we must learn our history. You can't reestablish something if you don't know what it is, what it has been. So history is absolute key. And when we're talking about the rebirth, we don't want to just establish something that is mimicking someone else's society. We want to recreate ourselves. We want to give birth, rebirth, the African. And in all of our forms. And you outlined very beautifully all of the constitutional, the ethical, the moral, the societal elements that made up our family and made up our community. That's not going to be easy, because to establish the things that you've just displayed, we are going to have to discard other people's religion. That's one of the first things we're going to have to do. Religions have little to do with God. other people's religions, those religions has to do with social orientation towards someone else's culture. And we cannot reclaim our culture while still infested and contaminated with someone else's culture. You know, other person's culture is an infection in our psyche, an infection of our consciousness. And in order to get rid of it, we must make sure we study our history. You know, a hairdo, a dress, or booba, a dance does not make you an African. Those are tools of our culture that teach us concepts, ideas, and principles. But they're little pieces, tiny little pieces. What you've outlined for us leading into my speaking, that's what we have to rebuild in ourselves, in our family, in our society. They must duplicate one another in terms of our communal, our collective, and our cooperative understanding of reality. We must get rid of these mythical gods and these images, even the ones that we were forced into. Let me tell you something. A lot happened to us during slavery and colonialism. And we created a lot of artificial realities in trying to survive those genocidal programs. And we must relook all of them so that we're not wrongfully worshiping images and don't even know why the ancestor made that image. What was the message in the image? What was the purpose for the image? You know, if you look over my shoulder, you see statuettes and statues. Each one was done at a time in a cultural space for a specific reason to convey a specific set of ideas and principles. And we must teach these things on the real side. I think that's the simplest thing I can say. To restore the African, you must restore what you call God. Every notion and idea of God that we know came from the mind of the African. And you can only describe yourself. So without anybody feeling set upon, because we've taken other people's religions and culture and we've made it work for us best we can because we didn't have much choice. But we have choice now. Over the centuries, different ancestors have opened doors and opened cabinets in our minds that lead us back to ourselves. So we have choice. We can find our mothers. We can find our fathers. We can learn their personality. We can learn their character. Nature is only one part of our being, the whole cosmology and nature itself, everything knowable and unknowable, all of it without boundaries. That's what we were trying to interpret because we were part of that thing. We weren't separate from nature. We were not separate from cosmology. And we understood that. You know, we understood that the light that makes us up comes from all those other bodies out there. We understood that the minerals that make us up come from all the things that grow out of the ground and the things that eat the things that grow out of the ground. We are those things. Those things are us. And our culture was built around an understanding of that interrelationship to the everything. And we've got to not be afraid to go back. I don't have anybody else's religion. Even when I was a Muslim, I wasn't a Muslim, but I won't go into that. I did what I thought was politically appropriate, but everybody who knew me knew what I was and who I was. So religions is somebody else's cultural way of interpreting reality. Let's find our cultural way of interpreting reality. History erases their mystery. We must interpret the history for ourselves. We must reconstruct as we learn the cultural nuances of the ancestors. And things that is no longer useful for this time and this space, discard them and replace them with new ideas, concepts, and principles that's based on the ancient concepts, ideas, and principles to the letter. If we're going to recreate the societies that we say we want to see. How can we make up what? There's 7 billion plus people in the world. Nearly half of that is Africans. We just scattered everywhere. And if you don't use Pan-Africanism in a way that's based on communal, collective, cooperative unification and bring those forces together, we'll continue to suffer the genocide of slavery, whether it's Chinese slavery, European slavery, or even our own sick minds that have copied their minds that's enslaving ourselves. So I want to be whatever the first, when nature and cosmology decided it would be human, it created an African woman. That's what I want to be. I want to be whatever that consciousness was in that first being, because that's what became African culture.
Speak, Pop. Speak, Baba. Yes, sir.
So that's it. Renaissance is to give rebirth. It's to rebirth ourselves in our total perfection.
Beautiful. The wisdom there is fantastic. Asante Sana. And what I'm going to do is, although we're going to have a kind of free flowing and let the spirit speak for us, you know. So don't feel that you have to, you know, we're all silent, and, we raise a hand to speak. This is just us to just talk. But I am going to come to you individually, so you can say a few words, and then, you know, just as the spirit takes you, yeah. And if I feel that we need to speak on something or go over it, I may ask you a question. But I'm just here to facilitate and be for us to be the vehicle for the wisdom that speaks for all of us from the all. So I'm going to go to our dear Dr. Asha in Malawi. So my sister, same question. How do you see, you know, that we would take the Grand African Renaissance, both individually as a people? Where would we start?
Well, I mean, I think to my dear elder Professor Smalls, I'll say good night and thank you, because I think you've just sealed the deal. Not left much for us to talk about. I mean, I remember, Professor Smalls, maybe you remember in 1995 when we talked about the Wahemi Mesu in the Rebirth of African Consciousness conference. We were in New York, and then we were in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
So we go way back. And I think the thing that stuck with me at that point in time was that, and it's something that we carry within our own liberty, is that the Wahemi Mesut represented the era of the Renaissance and the repetition of births. And it's something that we move within the Nyabingi liberty, that we are constantly being reborn. And the problem that we face is that if we don't tackle the very core things that Elder Smalls has just mentioned, when we're rebirthed, we come back with a little bit less of our real core self. And this is what has got us to the position where we are now. The other thing that I was taught by the elders that raised me is that when we have great warriors who put pen to paper and create great works of art that for us and leave them for us, we have a duty and a responsibility to go further with that. And so when I look at the great work of Ancestor Neely Fuller, who gave us the definition of the key areas of human engagement, one of the things that we now need to add to that list is technology. We must add technology to that list because, you know, when we were taught that the next war will not be televised, it won't be, because what will happen is that technology will take the place of Europeans in order to undermine the power of the African spirit. And more of that will be done by us without even knowing. We see it now in the coding and grooming of our people, using technology as a sedative to deal with just the trauma and the re-trauma, which is why I'm so grateful to see Elder Shock Matthews here. You know, that the use of technology now to soothe trauma and to replace those responsible for trauma with entertainment and, you know, short, sharp fixes of gratification, instant gratification, all of which are problematic for us, because then when we are reborn with a little bit less of ourselves. And so in order to try and address this, I always remember Elder his name has just gone out of my Wade Nobles.
Oh yeah.
Elder Wade Nobles, who said, all we need to do is put some Africa in the water.
Mm-hmm. I like
All
that.
we need to do is put some Africa in the water. And that's what inspired me to start living your best life in Africa. Because I think when when we have a profile and a platform, and again, this is why I admire Sister Shanice so much, because when you have that platform and that profile, we have to show our people that when you start to inject your humanity into your veins, you will not die. You will live. You won't die, you will live. And not only will you live, you will thrive and fly. And so part of the emphasis of the work I do is to encourage people to buy back their lives from this toxic culture that we live in. Buy back aspects of their lives and take that thing that they buy back, that time, that effort, that energy, and visit, long stay, or live on the continent or a hot African country of their choice or their dreams. Because the moment we start to do that, we get an opportunity to reconnect with Mother Nature, with our own natures. And we begin to commune in a way that we cannot do in these hostile and toxic cultures. So I'll say that, and I'll leave the floor for others. Thank you.
Asante. Beautiful, beautiful.
Sana.
And now I'm going to go to see if we've got a perfect spot to talk to our dear brother, Reverend Dr. Philippe Shock Matthews, the metaphysical Morpheus, because when we're talking about technology, he's the brother to talk to. So please, brother, please, my brother.
Well,
please.
thank you so much. And my goodness, Goddess, Asha, and God, or Amma, Professor James Smalls, that was so on point. I don't really have much to contribute anymore. I got my hair done and everything for this, but y'all took it all to the next level, so, sorry if my due is not right today, but to understand who we are as a people, James said that we must know our history, and he's absolutely right. But the one thing that we must know when I do this research, I went back to school, got a PhD, so I can take a deep dive into the research aspect and study of my people and how to liberate my people, how to liberate myself and my people. And so as I take this deep dive into what this framework I developed known as the 4 frequencies and the 4 traumas and the 4 histories, we have to understand that we are genetically encoded as a perfect people. Now, what do I mean by that? This is not about self-esteem. This is not about feeling good about ourselves. This is science. So what I wanted to do is prove scientifically that we are the best of the best, that we're undefeatable, unrepeatable, and we are what I call the first frequency. We are that first thought, that first idea of the creator, of Amma, whatever terminology you choose to apply to the allness and to the greatness. That's us. And so what does that mean? It means that no matter what they, second frequency, the European, the Amu, no matter what they have done to us, no matter what they will continue to do to us, we will always prevail because we are genetically encoded people to survive and be here. Now, here's something else that the science is teaching us. Something that we're not really taking as seriously as we should. We talk about it, hear about it, but we really don't have a understanding of, and my queen was talking about the technology of this. Here's the real deal. Family, the second frequency Amu is dying at excessive rates. In fact, the term is called excess mortality. Excess mortality is when a group of people die off over and above natural causes. Now, here's something that I'm going to share exclusively with this group today, because as I was working last night to prepare for today, I wanted to bring a message or something that was unique for my people, for our people, that they can take to heart with them. And that is this. Number one, we are seeing for the first time in human history a group of people that is known to be what's called autogenocidal. Autogenocidal means that this is the first time in history where a group of people will say, hey, there's too many people, too many of us on the planet. We've got to kill ourselves off. We've got to diminish our numbers. Now, if you understand anything about history, as Baba James and Goddess Asher has shared with us, that nature, because they are antithetical to nature, nature has been trying to remove them since the Ice Age, since they emerged out of the caves. We've done this extensive study on the Dark Ages and the medieval times to understand their culture and what they went through and how nature. There's a thing called LEIT, Little Ice Age theory. A lot of people don't know there's a miniature Ice Age after the Ice Age that wiped so many of them out. So because nature doesn't like them, everything that they do is against nature. But here's something else that we need to understand. There's also a mechanism known as fascination violence. You can go look this up on Google. For the first time in history, humans are fascinated by hunting other humans. This group is a very unique group. I got in trouble on Sister Shanice's show some time ago when I had made the comment based on my research that this is another species. We're dealing with a different species of people or humanoid or human-like. Now, that, of course, upset some white guy in the audience in the comments, which I didn't care. But he was upset. Who are you calling species? Well, here's why I call them a species, fam. Because the laws of ecology suggest and say that a dog doesn't hunt a dog. A cat doesn't hunt cats. Birds don't hunt birds. Why does this group have a fascination with hunting not only Black people, but hunting each other? So my suggestion, based upon this research, is we have to be prepared for what Dr. Francis Cress Welsing had been talking about forever, and that is genetic annihilation, the extinction protocol of a group. Now, the powers that be, the elite, they kind of know they're at what's called a birth dearth. They're meaning that for every one of them that dies, 6 to 8 of them are not born. What does that mean? That means that they cannot recover. They cannot regroup. Like us, we die, we don't die, we multiply, right? We're the largest group. We've always been the largest group. We've never been a minority. That's all that psychological social engineering BS. But this is a group that is encoded. Now, just as we, and here it comes, just as we are genetically encoded as perfect people, they have, and this is my philosophy, so take it as you wish. I believe they have been genetically encoded to annihilate themselves, because we are not warring people. We're not going to go and we're not going to shoot and kill all of the white people up. That we're not going to go and take over countries and genocide. We're not going to do what they do. But if you look at the numbers, now here's the thing I want everybody to do. I'm going to take you up on a challenge. I'm going to put you up on a challenge. The next time, because I've been doing this now for about a year, the next time you hear about a police shooting or one of us being killed by a second frequency Amu, check on that day how many second frequency Amu died. Check the death rate every day of how many of them are dying from either and it's multiplicable, right? I'm getting ready to do an entire piece on all the ways that they're dying, what is contributing to their death. But here's the rub, fam. As Baba James said, we are the first people, but what are we going to do when they're gone? Do we have the technology, the resources, the knowledge to run a city, to run a country, to run the world? Do we have the technology to be able to do that? The answer is yes, but are we working together in a cohesive manner that when they start to drop off and those numbers start to diminish, here's the real rub. As Baba Small said, it won't be dealing with the second frequency Amu. Now we got to deal with the Asians, or we're going to have to deal with the Arabs, or we're going to have to deal with the Muslims. So we have to take control of this perfection that is within us. Now, why are we perfect people? We are perfect people because we are first made in the image and likeness of perfection. So if you understand anything about melanin, you know that melanin is carbon based. If you know anything about dark matter and dark energy, you know that before light can be seen, dark matter, dark energy, and the blackness must be seen and must be there first. So it makes sense, as Baba Small says, that I want to get as close as I can to the frequency of what they refer to as Lucy, or whoever that first female was, that first African female that gave birth to us all. That is a code that is within everyone that is watching, that will watch, that's in all of us. We do not die, we multiply. And so if we go into that first frequency consciousness and release ourselves to that first frequency consciousness, we will have the answers of what to do within our own value systems and what we can contribute to the global community. But understand, family, nothing is or has ever been wrong with Black people. Something is and has happened to Black people. Our job is to figure out and reverse engineer this situation, understand what is going to happen as they're dying off. The reason that you're seeing this uptick in violence is not because they wake up every day and they say, oh, I can't stand Black people. It's because they're waking up less every day and they're seeing more of us. And so it looks like their world is shrinking, but they can't articulate that because they're white. Oh, I'm white, I'm right. I gotta be the best and the biggest thing out here. We conquered this nation, we conquered the world. But you don't understand, you're not of God. You're not of Amma. You're not of that first frequency. You're not of nature. So you don't belong here. You are a species that came and left, just as Sheikh Anta Diop teaches us about the 6 transmutations from Australopithecus gracile all the way up to Homo sapiens sapien. This is a different group. And this group has come, did their damage, never got an opportunity or never presented an opportunity to correct themselves, recognizing that we are the first people. Amma said, not a problem. Now, the arc of what Amma does seemingly takes longer, but it will be complete and it will be perfect. And the perfect people will always emerge on top and as first.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, and like you were saying, you know, revealing to us some of that new research that you have starting to work on and will be given to the world. And from the little that I've heard already, it's already changed a perspective of, you know, how we see the world and what is going on before us, because it is being very confusing about that. So Asante Sana for adding that wisdom and that guidance there. So again, going to go to, but we have a general kind of conversation. And I know, Baba Smalls, you're still there. So thank you so much. I know you're still up. So, you know, whenever you do have to leave, but thank you for being here and you know, with your energy and your and being able to contribute. But my dear brother Shanice Lindsay in the Gambia, I know your sound maybe you may have to struggle a little bit, but the ancestors will guide. Go ahead, my sister. As the question,
thank
the grand
you so much.
How do we start individually as a people, my sister? What's your thoughts?
Thank you so much, first of all, for inviting me to be on this platform with our wonderful, wonderful other panel members. I want to rise up all of the people in the audience who are busily messaging us via YouTube. I did manage to find out how to stream via my channel as well. Thanks, RevShop, for that. So yeah, also streaming via the Sister Shanice show. It's always so difficult when you go last, isn't it? Yeah. But I want to thank, my co-panelists for the contribution that they've made so far to the conversation. Yourself in the opening in terms of the history, taking us through those awful dark hundreds of years of our enslavement, through to where we are. Professor James Smalls, absolute honor and privilege as well to be on the platform with yourself, and absolutely agree about the importance of our history and how it is that all of us need to be aware, and why we all need to be aware of our history, because if we were aware of our history, we would know how great we really are as a people. Despite all of what has been fed to us and communicated to us and is being downloaded to us on a daily basis, we would know our greatness as a people. I want to rise up Sister Asha as well. And I agree with you. We won't die. We won't die as a people. I believe that first and foremost, we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and our spirit doesn't die. Our spirit is just waiting for us to wake up so that it can communicate with us what we need to do during the here and now. But there are so many distractions that are put in the way and blocking that spiritual kind of communication flow, that most of us are disconnected from our spirit and don't know why it is we're here and what our purpose is. And therein, in the spiritual realm, Dr. Philip Schock, rise up to yourself for all the works that you're doing on the 4 different frequencies, and, all of the traumas that we've been suffering. And our traumatic suffering seems to be, on a daily basis, and over our journey has taken on different forms, different shapes, because the trauma is also part of the design to keep us distracted so that we don't connect with our spirituality and our spiritual self. Because when we were a people, when we were living the wonderful kind of, in a wonderful sort of society that Professor Smalls outlined for us, we had time to study the cosmos. We had time, to philosophize. We had time to invent and be creative, because we had time to be in tune with the spiritual side of us, the invisible. And it's from that invisible realm that actually exists. And we know it exists because in the invisible realm, you've got the radio waves, the microwaves, and all these other waves that scientists, the new scientists of today, are able to tap into to make, TVs work without plugging into an electric socket. They're able to make helicopters fly. They're able to make cars drive without conventional fuel, because in the cosmos, there are other waves and frequencies that we can tap into that we are not tapping into today because of the distraction and the trauma that's being, downloaded into our minds and in front of our eyes, and that we're picking up through their televisions on a daily basis. And so if we do get to that place, Reverend Schock, where they do are actually diminished because, their population nature has done what it needs to do with them, we will indeed thrive again as a people. And even, in recent history, where we've had the opportunity to prove as a people that if we're left alone, we can achieve so much. When we think of what Kwame Nkrumah managed to achieve during the short number of years when he was president of Ghana, when we think of what Maggie Foley was able to achieve in his short number of years when he was president of Tanzania, when we go to America, we think of Rosewood and the Black Wall Street and what we were able to achieve when we were just left alone. The evidence is there. without a shadow of a doubt that if we are left alone, we can do so much. And in our history as well, of the great kingdoms, the great cities, so numerous to mention, Timbuktu, Songhai, the Mali Empire, Monomotapa Empire. When we think of all of those great African cities prior to our contact with the Europeans and how successful they were, then that is evidence yet again that we are most definitely, when left alone to our own devices, more than able and capable of not just building cities, but of building kingdoms and building empires and building societies, creating societies where we don't have people who are impoverished, who are begging on the streets, who are dying of hunger, who are being fed genetically modified foods and medicines, but we have a society in which, what we have, the resources that we have, is shared and distributed amongst the people. So I have every confidence in our ability as a people that, when we're in our right mind or when we're left alone, to be the best that we can be, that we can accomplish so much as a people. And, we are a people, yes, I agree, that works with nature. As you say in Dr. Revshot, we work in harmony with nature. And that is why, prior to us being in contact with the Europeans, we were able, we were able to live in harmony with all of the animals in the animal kingdom world. The insect world thrived, the animal kingdom thrived, the marine life thrived. Look now that we're not in control. The animals, they need us to get back into control, because here they are, gaming them and hunting them to virtual extinction. So we need to get back into the position of power. We need to get back into our right minds in order for us as a people to be in control of our lands, the animal kingdom on our lands, the marine world that surrounds our lands, the insect world, the bird life. They are all waiting on us. And so, when I think of African Liberation Day, and as I did my preparation for African Liberation Day, I was going through the history, and what a formidable works those early Pan-Africanists did. What they were absolutely formidable. They had an energy and they had a zeal for freedom, family, that if they didn't have, we would not be enjoying the relative little freedom that we're enjoying today. So what we have to wake up to is a reality that we have a work to do today so that our children can enjoy a better standard of living and a better life tomorrow. Because if we want Africa to be transformed tomorrow, then we've got to be doing that work today. We've got to make it a mission to be working towards the transformation of Africa into the new phenomenal powerhouse that it can be. And therein lies, the grand renaissance from within us first and foremost, and we've got to bring that out. There's so much more I can add, but let me pause there for a while to allow someone else to come in, and then I will come back.
Beautiful, beautiful. Elder Small, I saw
Yes,
your message.
To my queens and the kings, I'm sorry I have to leave. I've got to make a quick medical appointment, but I'm so honored. This is so beautiful, and I'm just learning and feeling all this energy. But keep teaching. You're absolutely right, my sister. The world we want our children to see, we've got to create it for them, or begin the creating process, and we have, and we're going to win. So I love you much. I honor you much. Peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings.
We love you too, Professor James Small. One love. Asante Sana.
Absolutely beautiful, beautiful. And so, I won't go into the details of it, but it shows with our elder that he has things that he has to deal with. And I asked him last night to say, are you sure, elder, to be here? It sounds like you need to go take care of that. Said, no, I said I was going to be here, and I'm going to be here. What better example do we need? A warrior, a scholar, and an inspiration to us all. So we're honored that he was here. So again, thank you to everybody who's here, who's watching. We had up to 105, got 98 here. So still here with us. That's beautiful. And also, just when we talked about the Grand African Renaissance, African Renaissance, and our definition of what we meant by that, we also shared that with Mama Baina Bello of 80, and she kindly added to that as well. So again, this idea of joining the dots and working together isn't just the PACM. This is all of us working together and building upon the information and the knowledge that we have for our people. There's more than enough people. There's more than enough resources. There's more than enough of the money that we need if we can pull together. So just to open up the discussion among ourselves and just take a point forward. You were saying you were saying that this. Oh, who's speaking? Oh, okay. That's Shanice. You were talking about the energy of our ancestors and those who came before us at the African Union with Kwame Nkrumah, and we have the two groups. We have the Casablanca group and we had the Monrovia group, and the Casablanca group of those ones who wanted the united Africa. And just taking on that point, that so many, chose not to go that way and wanted to keep to the lines that the Europeans had falsely placed across Africa and keep to their own, selfish, ideals of, the little bit of power that they think they have under the auspices of somebody else's design. We have, as it says in the title about individual and as a people, and in practical steps, just us talking, and we've had some brilliant examples or wonderful examples. But is there people first, or individuals, or at the same time? Because it can seem so large, what we have to achieve. Just as you feel to talk. Who does how do we take forward these cool ways? Is it our people have to move as one, or does it start with us first and then we move from there? Who wants to speak on that?
Yeah,
I'd like to speak. Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Doc.
Yeah,
I yield to you.
Back on that for a moment. Just to say that, it's taken us a long time to accept that we're not going to be able to take all of our people with us. We're going to have to leave some of our people behind, because some of our people are wedded. They are more in love with European culture and values and all of that stuff. And I mean in love to the point where they rebirth it better than Europeans themselves. Yes. And that causes us to have to redefine what African unity means, which is the question you're raising, Nduguimani. That when we talk about African unity, we are talking about groups, we're talking about individuals, but we're not talking about everyone. And some of those people may even be in our own families, where we're going to have to leave them for now. Because some of our people have been taught to only associate with African success. They want to see us successful, and that success is defined by European terms and conditions. And so they will fight against their own interests and slit their own throats in defense of their love for the poison that they consume every day. And so we have to redefine what unity is, and we have to accept that we're not going to be able to take all of our people with us yet. You know, part of the work is about freeing those minds. And as Professor Newton used to say, free those minds so their black behinds will follow. And some of that work is going to have to be done with them in a way that they can access. And that's where the unintended consequences of COVID and of technology, which was never meant to provide any liberationary access for Africans, is now doing that some of that work. And Ndugu Robin Walker will speak about that on Monday. But we have to accept that now we're going to see, instead of trying to unify everyone, it's not either or, it's both and. We must try to unify everyone, but we must also work on unifying each other where we are, and then join up the dots. Join each other up. Use technology, use opportunities to commune on the continent, to join each other up, so that, you know, we can meet each other from the different corners where we are and commune and get some of that rich lifeblood that we are all craving.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, I remember that Mzee Mfudishi was said in his lecturing and teaching that some of us, as you said, are so in love with the trappings and with the culture and the aspects and wedded to it and can't see anything else but that when we talk about revolution, when we talk about changing, there's a guttural, visceral rejection of it, because they know that to change that and to destroy that means to destroy that which they love. And it's not, you know, so they find it hard to even concept of giving that up, because the revolution and the change does mean taking, you know, destroying the edifices that we live with now and the constructs of our mind, which our dear Dr. Shock so brilliantly talks about. We've got the second frequency, but there's, you know, again, on that is that issue, you know, just as we're free to talk, you know. So who wants to just jump in and speak? I think Elder Dr. Shockey was gonna speak.
Sure. Thank you, beloved. And thank you for that, Dr. Asher. You're absolutely on point. And you know, I usually joke and say that, do you remember when you were a kid and your mom used to say, you know, if Joey drives his bike off the cliff, are you going to drive your bike off the cliff with him? We're in a situation now where we don't have a bike. We're on Joey's handlebars. And so if Joey goes off the cliff, it's our ass first, that's face down. You understand? So a lot of us, some of us are going to be forced to wake up, because it's going to happen where there's going to be a massive choice. You either go down this road or you're going to go down this road, and this road is self-destruction. But a lot of us are not, as she said, we're not going to make it, but it's enough of us will. That's the other great part, right? Because again, we don't die, we multiply. Now, I learned, talking about technology, I learned that there are 4 billion Black people on this planet right now that have access to cell phones. So 4 billion of us have access to technology and a cell phone right there. Our job, technologically, moving forward as a people, is for all of us to be on those 4 billion cell phones. That's our Harriet. The technology is our new Harriet Tubman quilt. Okay, it's our map to be able to connect to each other, to be able to share our B1 code with one another, and all the things that we use within our culture, within our group, and how we communicate. But yes, a lot of us will not make it, because as I look at Africa, there's a show on Netflix called it's called Bling Empire or something like that, and it's a bunch of very wealthy young, affluent Africans that are more European than African. It just happens to be shot in Africa, but they are dressed to the nine. Nothing they have on represents us, and nothing that they're talking about represents us. So there's going to be this infusion where, I call myself part of the old school because I'll be 60 in a few years. So there's this infusion of the old school with this new school, but each generation, a little bit of the history for the new generation is lost. And that is the only thing that second frequency has to go on, is that if they can continue to erase our memory, then the young people coming up, the old people are going to be too tired to do anything. And then the young people come up and they're still in that system. Well, if you read the paper that I wrote called Race Technology, and I did 2 episodes on Sister Shanice's platform on race technology, we now have an understanding of how racism, white supremacy, how it duplicates, how it replicates, and how it's a self-generating machine. So that being said, now we can reverse engineer it. We can interrupt that signal. Black people, we are not corrupt. Black people are not cursed. We're not under. We are simply interrupted by a signal. Now, if you understand the laws of thermodynamics, energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transformed. Well, we just have to interrupt and go back to our original first frequency signal. Most of us don't even know we have a perfect genetic code that we can spiritually connect to within our own selves individually. Most of us don't even know that. Why? Because we're trying to solve our problems in what I call European third and fourth frequency mindset. You can't solve a problem with the same level of thinking that created the problem. But the issue is that we are a divine individual. It starts with the individual. Now, if you understand epigenetics and you understand how epigenetics is transferred, then if you get your act together, then you are going to infect and affect all the people that are around you, even people you have not met yet. Now watch this.
Yes.
The fact that there are people right now, hundreds of people watching this right now, I will never physically meet some of those people. But guess what? They are positively infected and affected by what you are doing right now on this platform that you do every year and that you do continuously each year. The signal cannot be broken, family. First frequency signal cannot be broken. Our people cannot be broken. Yeah, we can be interrupted. We can be annoyed. We can be temporary. And when I say temporarily, it's been 500 years here in America. That's a blip in the matrix. That's a blip in the matrix. And we have ruled for thousands of years. And we will again. This is a test of our resolve. Now, as a reverend, I say this. My people, our people, African people, we are the Jesus Christ because we have been the most crucified. It is now time for our resurrection. Now, our resurrection is coming together in that firstness, in that oneness, in that frequency, whether you call it Pan-African, whether you call it B1, whatever, it's Black, it's African, it's original. And we are everywhere. It doesn't matter if you've never been to Africa, wherever you are, if you are a Black person, guess what? You're in Africa. Okay? Absolutely. Because this land, the entire planet, belongs to us. The entire planet. Not like a little smidgen over here. No. We are the first born. We are the first born. That needs to be noted. That needs to be understood. And that needs to be exalted. We cannot be defeated. We can be interrupted, but we cannot be defeated.
Beautiful. Absolutely. Dr. Shanice, I think you want to add on, should it be individually or as a people, or anything that someone has said that you're resonating with and you just feel burning to just add to?
Oh, yeah, absolutely resonate with everything that Dr. Rev Shock just outlined there, and also with what Dr. Asha was saying before as well. Agree with both. Sister Asha, I agree. You know, we won't be able to take, you know, everyone with us, and you know, that is the reality. And that's because the vast majority of our people are not in their right mind. If we were in our right mind, we would realize our greatness, and we would be able to start making the strides that need to be made in order to bring about the transformation that we want to see sooner rather than later. And I love the analogy, Dr. Rev Shock, about some of us being on the handlebars of Jimmy's bike and we'll end up over the cliff first. You know, that jolted to my mind when I was reading earlier about the vast majority of our people being like that frog in the pot with a slow fire underneath it, and not realizing that they're being burnt, not realizing that they're being cooked, not realizing that they're being conditioned by their environment, that they're being indoctrinated, that they are being brainwashed. And this is why I got to rise up right here, actually, the Big G Galaxy Afiwi.net. It's the radio station that I'm a presenter on, and, you know, we were behind promoting this event as well, because, you know, that's a station that's been running for over 30 years, doing the work of deep brainwashing the minds of our people, because we recognize that the education system has been designed to exalt whiteness and to denigrate everything black. So we come out their education system after being indoctrinated with their Eurocentric, you know, sciences and philosophy and everything else, feeling as though we've accomplished nothing, achieved nothing, never have done and never will. And so, you know, a lot of our people come out of that education system with a feeling of self-loathing and a feeling of self-hate. And, you know, if you've captured the minds of the people to that point where they hate themselves, well, you don't even have to worry about their actions, because they're already going to feel as though they're totally inadequate, and they're not going to be looking to their own race or their own people for a solution. Hence why we've got, you know, the white Jesus worship, and to the extent that it is, or if it isn't Jesus, it's Allah, you know. So a large proportion of our people have been Arabized by the Arab religion and have been indoctrinated with the Arab religion, and they see themselves as Arabs first rather than African first. And then another large percentage of our people have been indoctrinated with the Christian religion. And as Leader Bandaka will remind us, Rise Up Leader Bandaka and the Al-Kabalan Revivalist movement, they were on the Sister Shanice show last night, and they were reminding us on that show last night as well that, you know, how religion, you know, has captured our people, the minds of our people, and are influencing our people to be docile. And even on my shows, we have people like Brother Mama in the Mama University, and Rise Up Brother Nusi, Yengelumbu Kiambote, Brother Nusi from the Congo. He reminds us, you know, on a regular basis that our spirit has been captured, our spirit has been incarcerated. And so, you know, again, as I was saying earlier, it's difficult for us then to connect, you know, with our primordial self, the we in the atmosphere, the we that's out there. What we're seeing, you know, is just like a hologram of who we are. The real us, you know, is outside of us and inside of us. And the us outside of us is trying to connect with the us inside of us. But because of our signal and our frequency, as Dr. Shock says, that's been interrupted, you know, we find it difficult then to make that connection to our spiritual code. We were all born at a certain time, a certain, you know, when the moon was a certain position, the stars were in a certain position. We all have come here by divine appointment with a purpose. But vast majority of us are totally lost spiritually as to what that purpose is, and our spirit has been captured, you know, by these alien forces out there that have been designed to interrupt our frequency and to erase our memory. But as you said, Dr. Shock, we can nevertheless, those of us who have managed to, you know, remove ourselves from, you know, and wash ourselves off to some extent from all of that indoctrination, we are then able to impact and affect those around us. And I'm impacted and affected even by those that tune into the Sister Shanice show every Wednesday. Some of them are live now online. They're messaging in the chat. They're bigging up everybody on the panel and agreeing with a lot of what is being said. We are impacting each other, and we're doing it now using the technologies that Sister Asha was talking about that we need to do in order, to reach family members and friends, as Dr. Philippe Schock was saying, on the other side of the world, who we will never meet face to face. But thanks to technology, we can influence and we can impact. And that's what we've got to be doing on an individual level.
100%.
Those of us, who have that spirit, who have that zeal, who have that energy, to see Africa transformed, the energy that wants to see our people, with the right spirit and the right mind, and who are free from mental enslavement, free from the colonial indoctrination, free, from the colonized education system that we've been getting. Those of us, we need to have the zeal and the energy to do the works that needs to be done. We need to be like the evangelists, the religious evangelists. And when I read the works of our founding fathers, for example, those who were at the forefront of ushering in the Pan-African movement, the fight for liberation, the fight for freedom at the time when all Africa was still, when the vast majority of Africa was colonized, they had a zeal and energy that moved. I mean, it was like moving mountains. They made the impossible possible. And when you think of the vision that they had, for Africa, the one Africa, the United States of Africa, the one African currency, the one African citizenship, the one African military. When you think, and that was like 60 years ago plus, and to see where we are today, and that, we've actually fallen back in terms of our liberation struggle, it's a crying shame. And, let's not forget, it wasn't even hundreds of thousands that died fighting for our freedom. It was millions of Africans who died fighting on the continent, in the Caribbean, in their useless, senseless wars. World War I, World War II, we fought. And then we came back to Europe after fighting in their wars to experience their racism. Africans returned to Germany and ended up being the first ones who were genocided in those concentration camps. Africans, after fighting for France, returned to France and ended up facing so much racism in France, Germany, when they took it over. And these were the conditions that they were facing. Soldiers, aircraft, marine, and all the rest came back to England and Britain after the war, couldn't get a job, couldn't find anywhere to live, was facing harassment and abuse. That triggered the 1919 riots right across England. And when you think of the coming together, of us as a people, the Africans in the diaspora, with the Africans on the continent, the planning, the strategizing, the organizing, from the first meeting of the Pan-Africanists in the 1900s right up to 1945, when Kwame Nkrumah launched his meeting of the Organization of African Union. That was 45 years of planning and organizing and strategizing. So this transformation isn't going to happen overnight, but with the technology that we have the access to, with the knowledge that we have access to, with the research ability now that we all ought to have, even just using Google these days, should make us so much more advanced in terms of our knowledge and what we need to do. But what we lack, what they clearly had, was the zeal and the energy and the fire for change.
Can I add something to that, Goddess? Can I add something to that, Goddess Shanice? Because you are so on point. Ashe, that was amazing. Because here's the thing: Africans, we are the adults in the room. All right, the second frequency are our children. We are the adults in the room, and here's the problem. Some of us got caught up trying to befriend and be friends with our kids as opposed to parents. Understand what I'm saying? Spiritually now and culturally, understand that we got caught up. Now, only children engage in fairy tales. This group, Second Frequency, created everything from a fairy tale. They took Amma, the original utterance and word of the creator, and they made God. They took our Trinity and bastardized it and made this white boy on a stick, this imaginary white boy on a stick, and this imaginary white boy in the sky. Look at Sister Shanice. She's like, oh. So understand that's a child. Now, here's the rub with us. When you are a child, this group, Second Frequency, they're very, very scared. They're very and easily unnerved. They're very fragile. And when you are a child, it makes sense that you would have and need an imaginary friend. So their imaginary friend is that white boy on the stick. The problem is some of us as parents have gotten caught up in their fantasy. And when we feel vulnerable, when we feel insulated and isolated, we make up the imaginary friend called Jesus. Whether it's a black Jesus, a white Jesus, don't matter what the kind of not understanding that story is us. That you are the Jesus Christ. You are the Christ consciousness personified, made perfect, whole, and complete in and on your incarnation. So we have to remember who we truly are. We are the parent of this group that lives and builds in fantasy. Everything they do cannot stand. They can't build architecture like we do. That still stands the test of time. It's not who they are. They even in scripture it says it didn't come to stay, it came to pass. They came to pass. We have to get out of their way. Let nature, let Amma do what nature and Amma does. Nature and Amma does not make mistakes. It makes corrections. But if we are in the way of those corrections, guess what? When Mama, you remember when you were a kid, Mama said, I want your ass in the house. Okay. And guess what happens if your butt wasn't in the house at that particular time? Now, you might have brothers and sisters, they got in the house and they didn't get their butt whooped. Why did you get your butt whooped? Because you didn't listen to your mama. When she said, look, baby, I've got to take care of some business. Don't leave this house until I'm finished with taking care of this business so I can make it safe for you to go outside and play. Oh, but Mama, I want to play with little Joey because Joey's got a nice bike and he's got these new handlebars. No, we can't play with Joey no more. We see Joey is going towards death. This group, Second Frequency, if you study particularly if you study them during the Dark Ages, they are fascinated with death. They perfected death. We perfected living and rebirth. Because we don't die, we multiply, we reborn, we rebirth, right? We regenerate. When we go, we have ancestors. When they go, they just go. Notice they never talk about their ancestral realm because they don't have one. But here's the thing, fam. This is why we have to have an under, over, and side standing. This is what the Dogon means by Jiri so, Bini so, and Bolo so. Sidewards, backwards, and forwards. This is what it means. That when we look at this group called Second Frequency, and this group that is antithetical to nature, didn't come here to stay, that if we do not wake up and become the parent again, that many of us are going and will suffer the same level of death that they are suffering. Now they will go and they're going to buy every gun, every weapon of what we call weapons of mass destruction. They're going to build their bunkers. They're going to do all of that. And do you know Nature doesn't give a damn about their weapons. There are more dead white people with new guns in their goddamn home and garage, and they can't nobody shoot them because they white ass is gone. You understand what I'm saying? This is real family talk right now. Okay, so if the white people are watching or whatever, this is your time to go to the other room right now. This is not your conversation or about you. Okay, but you understand that we cannot go where they go and cannot do what they do, and we have to let go of this imaginary friend called Jesus the Christ, this white boy on the stick. If you want to kill all the black people, just do it every 7 days. You know where they're gonna be. This is ridiculous what we have become. If I want to take out as many black people as possible, I'm not gonna do it on Friday. I'm not gonna do it on Saturday. What day am I gonna do it, fam? Come on. This is ridiculous. So yeah, it's gonna hurt because many of us are not going to make it. And what's going to hurt us, and what does hurt us currently, some of us in our families, we're trying to get our immediate family members to wake up. They're not listening because they're under this trance of second frequency. And that's exactly what it is. It's a trance, it's a signal interruption, and it's based on fear. They don't know about Amma. They don't know about what it means to be first. We have been taught that it's the three white boys: the white boy on the boat, Columbus; the white boy on the stick, Jesus; and the white boy in the sky. Now, Dr. Kwanzaa Kajufu has taught us this is called the fourth grade syndrome. When black boys are first introduced to these three white boys, all of a sudden, that black person, that black boy and girl splits in personality, becomes what Du Bois would refer to as double conscious, right? And in that double conscious, in America, we have two choices. That means I had the choice of being a good, well-versed Negro that goes to church, believes in white Jesus, get an education, come out and work for the man. Or I can reject that, and now I'm an N-word thug out here on the streets producing multiple babies, multiple baby mamas, and with no direction whatsoever. That is the impact of second frequency signal interruption on black people. So when you look at us acting up and acting out, it's the trauma that is embedded inside of us, known as decontextualized trauma, that matches with the genetic trauma, the trauma that we come here with from the ancestral realm, from and through the mom. We turn on our devices and then we go and then we download vicarious trauma when we see our brethren being killed and dying right before us. And then it creates what we call ghosting trauma. The ghosting trauma is that I don't feel safe. I don't feel good enough. I'm going to minimize myself. I'm going to become small so that I won't be a target. Now, part of this weaponizing of this is to effeminize black men, because guess what? They don't kill in the streets. They don't kill effeminized men. Why? Because it would be a hate crime. So many of us are getting lost in this weaponizing and translation. We're acting completely out of our minds and not of ourselves. But understand, just as some of us were bred because slave breeding was real, we went from 4 million to, I went from 300,000 to 4 million in 10 years or 5 years, some crazy number. Understand that when you are bred, that house Negro, that field Negro, whoever comes from that good stock, when you take a people and you treat them like an animal and you breed them, there's going to be some epigenetic and ancestral problems going forward that has to be cleaned and cleared up, right? Because we are the Trinity. The Trinity is mother, father, child. Not mother, mother, not father, father, not child, child. It's perfection. Amma made perfection. Follow the perfection and cleanse yourself. Now, that might be a little isolating for some of us and for some of you, but it's worth it because you're not alone. Look at us right now. Look at what you're doing. A year ago, Amra told me about you guys and said, I would love for you to meet Brother Amani. He's doing great things with the panel, with the African liberation. I'm like, oh, okay, great. And look at us and how we all come together. No matter what you have been doing all of these years, I've been doing all these years, Sister Shanice, Dr. Asher, we are all one because we are all frequency specific to the same thing. So it doesn't matter when you call us, where you call us, we're going to be here for you because that's what Africans do. And we are the example for this new generation. These children, you can't talk to them. You have to show them and be demonstrative, right? I can show you that nothing's wrong with you. Something happened to you. I can demonstrate that to you. I can give you scientific evidence. But if you go out here and think that securing a bag, watching these entertainers and trying to mimic and model these entertainers are what we call bought and paid for. Because anybody who is receiving a check from a European is not in control of their life. The European is control of that life. Don't believe me? Ask Whoopi Goldberg, ask Nick Cannon, ask Kyrie Irving, ask any of the what we call a third frequency. Ask any of them what and who writes your check, runs you, and runs your life. We have to get economic control of ourselves, and that's going to take some time. But because we have this beautiful thing called the internet, we're able to get this information, access this information in real time, right where we are, no matter where we're at, and be able to each day, just by you guys doing a StreamYard. I'm taking this stream to my two channels, my YouTube channel and my Facebook. Sister Shanice just figured out how to do the same thing. That's called exponentiality, right? So you had an idea, you brought us on, and it expanded because that's what Amma does. That's called Sodai. Sodai in the Dogonic apprenticeship process and system is when you become a master of masters. When other people start to mimic and model your behavior, your characteristics, traits, and behaviors, and skill sets and core competencies. So we got this, family. We've already won. You know, some people say it ain't over until we win. No, we've already won because here's the metaphysics or the African sacred sciences. Baba Smalls prefers to say that you can't have a problem without the solution, and you can't have a solution without the problem. We're focusing too much on the problem. The solution is already at hand. We need to go towards that solution. Now, I'm going to lay a little bit of heavy science on you, not too heavy, but you need to know it so you'll be able to recognize it when you're either engaged in it or somebody you love is engaged in it. Write this down.
Please.
It's called secondary gain. Secondary gain is when you benefit from a bad behavior. Now, what does that mean? That means that if I have secondary gain, I get attention by doing something that is not good for me. So smoking cigarettes. All right, smoking cigarettes is not good for me, but look at the people that I hang out with that we all sit up and smoke cigarettes together. Or start drinking. Oh, I got my drink buddies. We're sitting up, we're drinking, we're smoking, we're having a great time. That's a secondary gain. We sit up and we complain about our problems. Man, let me tell you what the white man did to me today. Oh, well, guess what happens when you when you solve your problem and your problems are taken away? What are you going to complain about? 99% of all the YouTube channels, including mine, are people out there bitching and moaning about hating white people and loving Africa. That's great. But what happens when your problem is solved? What happens when you have M's or zeros in your bank account? What happens when your health is restored? What happens when your children are healthy? You ain't got nothing to complain about. So all of a sudden, you don't want a solution to your problem. You just want to complain about it and talk about it and chat about it in the comments. That's another group that is going to actually end up moving away and dying off because there's no value. If you don't have a value to Pan-Africanism, to B1ness, to FBA and FBB culture and African culture, then you are the frequency of the Amu and you will be dealt with by first having to deal with your insignificance. So how do you get rid of a population of people? They first have to become insignificant. We have given too much significance to this second frequency group. It is time for us to be the only significance in our lives, in our culture, and in our families.
Beautiful, beautiful. It reminds me of what we said there. I was going to say a question about individually what we should do, but we've already answered it. But it reminds me of something that came to me when I was meditating, and the ancestors revealed to me, and this analogy that our enemies is like they dig a big hole, massive pit, and they throw us in that pit, and they throw us a shovel, and they say, dig yourself out with the shovel. You can't dig yourself out with a shovel. You can only dig yourself deeper. That you can't get yourself out of a situation using the same tool, the same shovel that dig the hole. You're just trying to use that shovel to dig your way out. You can't use the same ideology, way of thinking, politics, religion to get you out of the situation you're in. You need your own. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. When we come into our own self, and as our chair, MJ Miami, says, we're in an open mental health ward. What we see around us, there's just not walls and windows and the bars. It's open mental health. But when we come to ourselves, we'll understand this. 1, there's no shovel. And 2, there's no hole. You're already free. You're already boundless. You come onto yourself, and that's the big con, because they know when we understand this all ends like that.
Absolutely. 100%. 100%.
And that's what all the distraction is about. Because no one spends this much time and energy and money and power on somebody who doesn't mean something.
That's right. Come on now. Yes. Say that.
Because we have our meetings, it's an African for only event.
Absolutely.
If you are an ally, why would you have a problem with that?
That's right.
No, you have to be in it, and you have to try and change it and turn it. Because they know if we get, like you said, Dr. Shanice, when we're by ourselves, we sort it out.
Yes.
Yeah, we protect ourselves. And we understand this ain't the first time we've been here. This is not the first time that any of us have been here. The reason why we're talking like this is because we've been here before and we dealt with some of the rubbish last time, and we're coming to our understanding this time. We have to understand that we're bigger than what they leave us and what they try and define us. We're much larger. We're boundless. There is no box. There's nothing stopping you. The trick is to get past that. And all of this and the words we use and the altars, we don't need any of it. They're permission slips to let us let go of the things that limit us.
Facts.
This is our understanding. This is our understanding coming into ourselves, because only people who are boundless build Zimbabwe, the great Zimbabwe, the pyramids.
That's right. That's
American
right.
Hour.
That's
How
right.
many, what kind of people on the face of this earth have been destroyed, nearly destroyed, and create civilizations again and again and lead the world?
That's right.
Who?
That's exactly
Who
right.
else? Who else has changed the world except
That's
us?
right.
Who's still feeding upon us like a leech? And that's where it is.
Absolutely.
It's like a leech.
That's
We don't
exactly right.
understand that we're with this leech. All we have to do is just do this.
That's right.
Get off me. That's all we have to do.
You remember when you were a kid? I don't know if I probably did this, but you remember your mom used to say, like, when you first saw a bug or a spider and said, well, that spider or that bug is more afraid of you than you are of it. Of course, at that time, I wasn't really believing that, but understand that's how they see us. They're terrified of us.
Absolutely.
They're more afraid of us than we are of them. That's why they use terror, because they're terrified of what the implications are some of them, they don't have the articulation, they don't have the vocabulary or psychological lexicon, but they can feel and sense that they're not enough. They can feel that we are different in the wrong way, in the wrong direction. They feel that and sense that. That's why they hate the sight of us, the mere sight of us. There was a study done some years ago on white flight that said that when white people see, particularly a dark-skinned brother, that it triggers the same response as seeing a spider or a snake. They're terrified, genetically terrified of us. They're terrified of insurrection. They're terrified of, which is the revenge against them. They're terrified of losing their money and power. They're terrified of dying and getting sick. They are terrified of what Dr. Carol Anderson refers to as white rage, meaning that they can't stand to see Black people succeed and achieve without their permission.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And that's what we have always done. We don't give a damn about you. Just leave us alone and we got this.
Yes.
But they don't know how to do that. That's why now they're afraid, because guess what? They ain't the only ones that have guns now. Okay? So you come over to Rev Shock's domain, you might feel like you with ISIS, because you're going to get blown your ass up coming over here messing with Doc Shock, okay? Because we can defend ourselves now, and some of us out there have weapons of ass destruction as well. So we can fight the ground game and the air game. But understand, I'm being humorous, but understand this game right now, this war is an air war. This war, we've already fought the ground fight. Now it's the air fight. It's consciousness. It's spirituality. It's our unity in thought. We don't have to be in the same room together. We don't have to be in the same city or country together. But we have to be together in thought and in oneness. And that is triggering the Akashic records. That's triggering Amma to send the annihilation and genetic code for them to genetically annihilate themselves, which is what we call autogenocide.
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna. We've gone past 5 minutes when we're supposed to be, so I have to check with the panel. Are you okay to be around?
Yeah,
for
we're
about 20
okay.
minutes?
I've just got a couple of points
okay?
that I'd like to make.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. Just like, and we're going to go on to another elder. She has some words of wisdom for us that she kindly shared with us, and I'll speak on that in a second.
That's the truth.
Like you said, that's saying, like COVID, COVID, or what they call COVID. We do know that was supposed to be our death now. The plan was we weren't supposed
absolutely
to.
Absolutely. As was AIDS and Ebola and all of the diseases that they create to kill Black people, and guess what it does? It kills them. You can't kill God. You can't kill Amma's original people. Are you stupid? That's why they're so dumb. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry not to interrupt, but they're so stupid.
And who did it kill? The elderly. Which generation? The same ones who were saying no Blacks, no Irish, and no dogs.
That's right.
And they're the ones who now, if you was slightly aware, you would kind of think, we need to change up the way that we live our lives, because look how that lashed us.
Right. Look at how vulnerable it left us. Yes.
Even with your so-called jab, who's that taking out? Who is that taking out? En masse. Yeah, when we in Africa, where we say we die like mosquito, we die like anything. Yeah. We're just living a life. So we're not on the Burger King. We're not on the Mickey D's.
No.
We're not on the, because we ain't got it. So we have to just go with nature, because that's how we live. That was saving us.
That's right.
That was saving us.
Absolutely.
But also on the spirit side, as I say, when you point a finger, 3 fingers point back at you. I don't understand how masking it. You know, you put it out there, you think that it's going to go lash. No, that's, you know, as my mum used to say, when you dig a grave, dig two.
You're stealing the words from my mouth, you see. When you dig hole for people, dig two. One for them
Exactly.
and one for you.
Love that.
Exactly.
Love that.
Ancient
Exactly
teaching. Ancient
what
teaching.
happened.
Ancient
This is
teaching.
exactly what happened. You think you're going to dig a hole for Africans by trying to plan out what was going to happen with COVID.
Exactly.
You expected to see bodies in the road so that you could then come with disaster politics and disaster capitalism to frighten the people into giving up more of their liberation so that you could then come in and try to save yourself. But it's not going to work, because guess what?
It hasn't worked
is
before.
key. Content is key. Building on the work of Ancestor Neely Fuller, content is key. And content is the unintended liberationary force that they could not stop us from accessing. And the same way that content through the internet and through those hidden waves that Sister Shanice so eloquently spoke about, through the use of content and how it travels unseen, our people are going to be reconnected. Those who are doing the work are already linking up, as Dr. Sharma.
Absolutely.
Those of us who are doing it, we're already linking up using that unintended consequence called the internet and its child called content. And in the same way that you can see how content is seducing our people, you're also learning the lessons of how to reverse the process, okay? And re-engineer the word and the sound and the vision, okay? So that our people stop working from a cup half empty and flip the script so that they work from a cup half full. Same cup, different mindset. And so when you, Brother Ndugu Imani, talk about, you know, you're in a hole and you've got that spade, and the spade that they use to dig the hole cannot free you. You see, when you reverse engineer the thinking, you're going to take that spade and you're going to dig a hole and you're going to put your foot in that hole.
That's right. That's right.
Okay? And then you're going to lift up that spade. You got one foot in the hole, and then you dig another little hole, and you put your foot in there, and then you take
at the forefront
and you dig another hole
as well.
And you put your foot there, and you
Love
take
it.
your time, and you get out of that hole. That is how we reverse engineer the process of psychological warfare.
Come on
That's
now.
how we do it.
Come
That is
on,
a
Goddess.
powerful approach. You look at the cup, so you look at the hole. Oh my God, I'm trapped. Nah, you reverse the script. You flip that script, and you think, okay, it's time for me to exercise now. All right, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take that spade, and I'm gonna turn that spade into a weapon of African liberation, and I'm gonna use that spade to get myself out of this hole. And this is what our people are doing, in particular, our young people, because they're tired of waiting. They are reverse engineering, and they are using content as a liberationary equalizer.
Absolutely.
And they are taking that content and putting together liberationary methods, theories, politics to reach our people. And that is how we then move to the next Wahemi Masood.
Love that.
Beautiful.
Ashe.
Beautiful.
Ashe.
Ashe. And that's a perfect point for us to go on to the next part where I'm going to go on to this next part where we're going to talk about that and about our power in a particular way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to call in our dear brother Ndugu Keparu. Greetings, my brother.
Honor and respect.
Are you
Money. honor and respect to
Yeah,
all
bro.
of you giants, goddesses and gods out there. And merci en pile, Sante Sana. Thank you very much for all of the blessings that you are been heaping upon us, including Elder Professor James Small, my mentor from way back.
Now, and Digo, I think you need to just speak up a little bit because you're a little bit far away from your
Okay.
speakers can hear you. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Try and do that.
That's
Okay.
fantastic. And the Keparu is from the Pan African Society Community Forum, another organization. Again, joining the dots, we working together. He's also, born in Haiti, a proud son of Haiti. And we've asked him to convey a message from our dear mother and leader and Mambo, Mama Baina Bello. Because we as the Pan-African Congress movement were horrified by what we saw, by the distraction and the horror stories coming out of Haiti. Everything we'll be saying about the fear and, that struggle, and we've all seen that, and the gangs, and, it seems that Haiti has, again, fallen into disrepair and disorder. But we want to say, how can we help? What can we do? How can, how, she's based in Haiti, how best can we move forward on this, not just be bombarded by the propaganda and be, and just feel that we're helpless and, again, Haiti is in trouble. We need to understand politically, we need to understand spiritually, we understand culturally about what's happening, how we move forward, and how can we assist our brothers and sisters. And she kindly put her wisdom down and shared it with us. And it's one of the things that we, gladly will share with other organizations so you can take it. But what we're going to do is we're going to have Ndugu read it out, because some words in Creole, and I just don't want to murder the beautiful language of Haiti with my English voice. So I asked our brother to come and read it from Haiti. And it's just for us to listen her message to the African world, the Pan-African world, about what's happening in Haiti and how we can assist from her perspective. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share the screen. Let's bring that up. There she is. There's our beautiful mama and our organization Foundation Felicite. And Ndugu Keparu, I'm going to hand over to you. We're going to go on mute, and please pass on the words of wisdom from Mama Baina Bello.
To you who want to know how to help Haiti or Haiti, whichever way you say it, I'm very sorry, but I've never been one to follow the social media much. Today, even less so. About Haiti, even lesser still. Here's the situation in a nutshell. In my humble opinion, what each freedom fighter and or family member on our planet Earth needs to know and understand is that it is criminally, or the criminality program, which the so-called international community, namely UN, USA, Canada, France, core group of diplomats in each of our countries, which should more accurately be known as the true gangsters and thugs of the world, which they have imposed on the country to which I belong, Haiti, is intensified these days. Here are a few facts to continually keep in mind, no matter what you read, no matter where you live on our planet Earth. 1. Haiti is the richest territory in the so-called Americas. 2. Haiti has retained the strongest ties to both African and Native American cultures. 3. Haiti holds and lives out the most powerful Black our story in the so-called Americas. 4. From Haiti has emanated the most well spelled out Afro-American sacred science structure, grown from the Kemetian Azanian Ubuntu philosophy, successfully tested and experimented during the revolutionary centuries, 312 years, which culminated in the Battle of Crête à Pierrot on March 2nd to the 24th, 1802, and was victoriously finalized in the Battle of Vertières on November 18th, 1803. After whipping the most forceful Euro-Christian armies of our planet Earth, leading to the Declaration of Independence on 1st January 1804 in Gonaives. 5. Haiti has had a population of less than 2 million inhabitants in 1804. 6. Haiti's population was served with a world embargo as a gift from the domineering Euro-Christian world because she managed to free herself from slavery. Their good wishes came in the way of prediction that in less than 25 years, the island would become a huge rock and there'd be no one living on it. 7. Yet Haiti thrives. Her population managed to produce great leaders, Emperor Jacques and King Henry of Haiti. From self-determination, discipline, hard work, we established sovereignty and prosperity. Despite some dreadful Uncle Sammy rulers, the population managed to maintain a degree of self-determination, self-resiliency, and autonomy. Note that in less than a decade after becoming independent, the Kingdom of Haiti was minting its own gold and silver coins. Shortly afterwards, it began to mint some South African American countries' coins. Our kingdom also had a female general at the head of the army and a fleet of more than 400 boats, commercial and military. Number 8. Under the government of Jean-Pierre Boyer, a man who doesn't have a single heroic revolutionary moment to his name, an agreement was signed with to so-called compensate French colonists and slavers for the loss of their slave labor. 9. No compensation for those enslaved during 312 long years. No compensation for those for broken families sold in various islands and on the mainland. No compensation to all those maimed for no reason. No compensation for all thrown into the ocean alive. No compensation for all those cooked in hot oil, sliced up like fish, and hot spices poured into their wounds. Nor for those separated because they demonstrated affection for each other. That is the perception and demonstration of Euro-Christian justice. Number 10. The land workers, farmers, peasants in Haiti managed to maintain the country's food autonomy until the 1990s, in spite of numerous attacks and ploys from USA, France, and their followers. Number 11. With no hospital to speak of, Haitians suffered from limited illnesses and survived epidemics and pandemics, which Euro-Christian mindsets prophesied would kill Haitians at the rate of 50,000 plus daily in the streets. Never happened. Our homegrown foods and natural remedies always protected us efficiently up until now. Perhaps that is why the enemies of the Haitian population feel that they must gift us with these huge weapons, mind control drugs, criminal horror films, till till the 1970s, Haitian immigrants were admired. Number 12. Though Haiti possesses iron and other metal, she never mines it for herself, nor produces any type of weapons, not even machete. Number 13. All weapons found in Haiti are exported into the country, whether they cost $100 or $50,000. They are in the hands of people who can't buy a loaf of bread with ease. Who then purchases them and delivers these murder weapons to our young starving people? Number 14. They are the same people who kept decent Haitian lawmakers from passing laws that would help the society and population go forward. Congresswoman Gerendale Telusma was fighting to improve the minimum wage in Haiti. When it looked like enough of her colleagues were joining her position, a U.S. ambassador descended into Parliament to stop the session. She was found dead in a strange car accident. Those foreign officials and diplomats are the same people who, when Haitian police arrest criminals and armed mercenaries, come to the police station, impose the liberation of those criminals and mercenaries. Then, if the criminals possess U.S. documents, take them to the airport in broad daylight, accompany them on the plane, then let them go free in the U.S. Do we need any more proof as to who creates havoc in our societies? Right, societies. Have you been observing the same things happening in your country? Wake up. Number 15. Every government official who attempts to create laws, build structures to improve the life of the population is quickly assassinated. All of us can create a long list at home. Wake up. Number 16. Like all of us children of Al-Kibulan, we have been instructed in the enemy's church and schools. We are conditioned to be blind to their crimes. We are programmed to distrust and dislike anyone looking like us. We are broken in to a belief system that God is white and the devil is black. It is urgent for us to break out of this mental cage. Number 17. Haiti has always produced learned people with high degrees like Dr. Joseph Auguste Antenor Firmin, who first published his thesis in France in 1885, De l'égalité des races humaines, on the equality of the human races, translated into English in 2000 after being buried for 115 years. This is in response to author de Gobineau's racist classic anthropological text, L'inégalité des races, the inequality of the races. An important number of Haitian thinkers educated in Haiti traveled abroad for higher education diplomas, often paid for by the state, return home to help improve life. In the 1960s, people like Drs. Parnell Mark, several doctorates in astronomy, maths, linguistics, Dr. Jean Price Mars, Dr. Pradel Pompilus, Du Young, Holly, a huge percentage of them were lured away by the UN with enormous salaries to go help countries in the so-called Americas, including underdeveloped Canada, also in Asia and in Africa, Al-Kebulan. Thus, this sudden removal of experienced educators created a situation in our schools where a student who didn't finish high school yet could replace a seasoned thinker or professor. So when they talk of the decreasing quality of Haitian education, as usual, they don't look at the causes. The weapon called the brain drain is very real and efficiently operates in all our countries. Number 18, despite weapons being exported to us, not being imported by us, we must also become conscious of the fact that diseases, unhealthy behaviors and habits, false facts, misinformation, fake gods, plastic foods are all part of the battery of the weaponry being imposed on our countries as part part of the plan for fabricating implosion. I've tried to avoid mentioning the virtual electronic practices, which are a real joke in societies where electricity only makes an occasional haphazard appearance. It is neither regular nor stable, nowhere in our countries. But why? Number 19, our societies are very much at multi-level risk. Everyone's life has limited worth. Neither age nor gender nor status nor accomplishment is valued. Drugged people recognize no value. Yet miracles are the rule of life. Except that we must understand that one must work very hard in multiple fields to become a miracle worker. How do we change this situation? Sankofa. Return within and seek the true you. Sankofa. Seek the knowledge that our grandparents operated on, that our great-great-grandparents functioned with, and beyond. Avoid being mesmerized by enemy stuff. You may have to use it, look at it, the same way you look at a hammer, as an ordinary tool, enabling you to perform a particular task. No admiration, no added value. That way you will remain open to the correction and improve the next step that you may create. That was number 20. Still number 20. Ubuntu. Remember that we are one people, spread all about our planet Earth. Develop our Ubuntu, human kindness, continually. Be kind, polite, encouraging to each other. Acquire sound bites, words from our various languages. Free yourself from 100% possession by enemy thought, perception, language. Number 21. To help you help us. When reading negative information about your family members, reject it. Use your will and intention to send positive thoughts, vibrations, words. Send good wishes continually. When the enemy systems accuse your family members, give him the benefit of doubt. Remember, he is innocent till proven guilty by our family standards. Bless Haiti several times daily. The more what you hear the enemy reporting about us hurts you, the more determined you should be to give yourself the authority to contradict it. And repeat 7 times the good that you view, feel, or wish for us. View the becoming of the maroon freedom fighters returning into existence. True things are extremely difficult right now at home. We need for you to first and foremost support us vibrationally, frequentially, mentally, verbally. We need you to see Haiti as the capital of the new Black Empire in construction. We need for you to see yourself as a citizen of Haiti wherever you may be. We need for you to remember that our liberator declared to the universe that all Haitians are Black and all Blacks are freedom fighters. Asante Sana, Baina Bello. You are muted, Ndugu Imani.
Thank you, Asante. Asante Sana and Ndugu Kefu. That is wonderful. Thank you so much for passing on the words of Mama Baina Bello. I'm just going to bring everybody back. So all come off mute. There we go. That's just going to bring down. There we go. Wonderful. So We're coming up to our close. So thank you, everybody, who's staying with us. We've got 108 still with us, still with the revolutionary spirit and the power of the ancestors with us, and loving the comments. I can see everyone is enjoying so much what we're, and they're getting so much from it, and vibing from it, and getting strength and power from it as well, and we're infused and inspired by what Mama Baila had to say, and exactly what everybody was saying. It's so beautiful that our spirits align, even when we don't understand it. She exactly was saying what we have been saying all this program about re-engineering, about the spirit, about understanding who we are and when we hear these words, how we define, how we absorb it, what we use it, how we engage with it. So that was beautiful. And Duga Kaparu, before I go into this closing up, is there anything that finally you want to say? I know that you've worked and inspired by Mama Baila and Bella as much as we are.
Thank you for this, Ndugu Imani. Well, I think, Mama Bello, my mission here today was not to speak for myself. It was simply to speak the words of Mama Bello. I must believe that I've at least tried to do her justice, and that's all I can hope for. But I know that her spirit comes through no matter what, or whatever my mistakes and foibles, it comes through because I've witnessed the relationship she has with the family. And so, that's pretty much, And we're doing the work, and I think our ancestors are smiling on us.
Santisana. Thank you so much. Okay, right. So just family, I hope you're enjoying this. We're coming to the end, and what I'm going to do is just ask for our esteemed and beautiful panel. We've given so much, and thank you so much for your time, and for us working together. And we will continue to work together, over the months and years as we're standing the Grand African Renaissance. A step at a time and with like minds. Doesn't mean everybody together, but those who are going to work together, we will find our way. We will take the advantage of this age of Aquarius, that despite the distractions of the seismic changes, there is power, that the universe is working with us and through us to change things, for where we need to be in this next 26,000 years, which again for us is a blink in the eye for us. But just to decide to finish off, I'm going to go to Reverend Shock, then Dada Shanice, and finally with you, Dr. Asha. Just on your final thoughts, and particularly, and it seems that with the some of the comments, any practical solutions, practical first steps in your summary of what we should do regarding the Grand African Renaissance individually. First steps of where we take, whether we've been in the fight for years and decades, or we're just new to it. If you could just sum up, then we'll close. Yes. So, Reverend Shock.
Okay, thank you for that, my beloved. It says it right there on the screen. Nothing is wrong with Black people. Something happened to Black people. We are not. We're not cursed. We're not sick. We're sick from being captured, corralled, and controlled by sick people. We have to understand what has happened to us, but we also have to understand what happened to them. How and why did they devolve as a group of people and turn into a different species that is the opposite of an African? Actually, I would call them anti-African. There are our doppelganger, if you will. They're the evil side of us, because everything that they represent is the opposite of what we do and who we are. tactical, practical aspect of this is that we must take I tell everyone to do a daily affirmation. I am one with first frequency. I'm one with the first thought idea. I am one with the firstborn people. I'm one with the only one. As a way to create a barrier and a frame for your life as you move forward and go out into a second frequency world. And so we need to understand, family, that we are all significant. Even though we might feel insignificant, we are all significant, and we all play a part and play a role. Each one of us represents a frequency. Each one of us represent a part of the whole. And so it is incumbent upon us every day to acknowledge that regardless of what we see with our eyes, that we are spiritually perfect people, and that nothing can be wrong with you when you are spiritually perfect people, and that the entity that created you is the entity that created the entire universe. You are a powerful people. You are a powerful person. Recognize who you are. And when you do, don't give up, don't let up, don't shut up until Amma takes you up. That is what we need to do every single day.
Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Thank you so much, Dr. Revshot. Thank you to everybody on the panel. Also like to thank everybody in the audience who are locked in right now. Each and every one of us has a role to play. And as Dr. Shock was saying, you know, each and every one of us is significant. So that means we've come here with a purpose. There is a purpose for our life, and we've all been gifted as well in order to be able to carry out that purpose. So look within, and within you is the answer. And as our great philosopher, educator, teacher, great speaker, legend, Dr. Amos Wilson said, he said, the wealth of man is in his mind. So, you know, our wealth is not in technology. It's not in industrialization. It's not in even producing our own medicines, our own science, etc. Because, of course, we need to do all of that. But when we are in our right mind as a people, then everything will come together. When we're in our right mind, we won't be, some of our people won't be crossing the seas to try and reach Europe so that they can, you know, get a job for Mr. White Man. Our people, when we're in our right minds, won't be crossing the Sahara Desert so that they can become enslaved in the part of Africa that is now being taken over by the Arabs. You know, when our people are in their right mind, they won't be flying to China, they won't be flying to India to seek work from Mr. Chinaman or Mr. Indian man. When we are in our right mind and our people are in their right mind, we will be coming together and we will be working together to build Africa, to develop Africa and the Caribbean and our communities wherever we are. We will be creating our own jobs for our people, and we will be serving our people as well. And so, you know, when we're in our right mind, which is what we need to, where we need to get to, because therein lies the solutions. You know, once we're in our right mind, all of the challenges that we're faced with and the challenges that Africa is faced with, the solutions will come to mind. The technological inventions will come to mind. The scientific solutions will come to mind. The manufacturing solutions will come to mind. The production, the services, the housing, the culture, everything that is needed will come to mind when we're in our right mind. Because what we've got to remember is that kingdoms rise and kingdoms fall. Empires rise and empires fall. And there is so much happening in the world today with the war between Russia and Ukraine, you know, just as, you know, it was happening with World War I and World War II. And it was during that time that we made our greatest strides towards our liberation. The war is going on now. We ought not to be concerning ourselves with their wars. We need to be concerning ourselves with what we need to do in order to totally liberate our minds and totally liberate our continent and take back power and control over the resources. And so a very important part of getting back into our right mind is obviously getting the right information, the right education, and the right program and the right indoctrination. So I would advise every individual to tune in to radio stations like galaxyafiri.net, where we have these conversations on a daily basis. There are a number of talk show hosts on that radio station that do a great job of communicating with our family so we can get that oneness of spirit and mind. Also tune into channels like my channel, the Sister Shanice Show channel, like Dr. Rev Shock's channel, and I know PACM have a channel as well. Dr. Asha, if you have a channel, let us know, and I'll certainly subscribe to your channel as well. Let's tune into each other and stimulate, you know, enthusiasm, you know, between each other. I've got a beautiful audience that join me every Wednesday when I go live on YouTube, and they're a family now. They communicate with among themselves. Sister Aquajamo, I shouldn't have started calling names, I'm going to get in trouble. The Jamaican Junker, Sheriff F, you know, so many wonderful brothers and sisters who come together every strong, and they are a family, and they are based all around the world. And they take the messages that my great scholars and school come with their powerful message to us as people. So if you go to my channel, there's powerful messages there by Dr. Philippe Matthews, powerful messages by Dr. Winters, powerful messages by a whole number of greats. Yesterday, we had Brother Leader Bandaka, you know, on the platform. Next Wednesday, we've got a group of young people from Ghana, Cameroon, but a group of international young people who are Pan-Africanists at heart. You know, we're having a conversation about the next steps towards implementing the Pan-African vision. And so there are many of us on this journey. And because the world out there is heaping on us as a people, we need, you know, to get out of their matrix sometime and just plug in to, you know, our own spaces where we can get that fuel that we need to keep going. So let's fuel each other. I hope this panel discussion today has fueled you. I want to thank our brother Imani and his team for organizing today's event. Let's stay strong.
Wonderful. Santi Sana. I think my sound is showing is that it's before it's little was cutting out a little bit, but I'm sure everybody else could hear you. So we're gonna come finally to our guest, Dr. Dr. Asha. Again, the final words.
Yeah, my final words. There are two forces at play that will revolutionize and liberate the spaces that we have to operate in. And they are liberating and revolutionizing those spaces. One is spiritual, and the other one is the actualization of those spiritual forces into liberationary actions. And what we now need to do, and you know, like if you go to the African continent, you'll see that they're not waiting. They long since blew a hole in the myth that they need to wait for Africans from the West to come. They long since blew a hole in that myth. And we have Africans who are creating revolutionary and liberationary content and sharing those messages in a way that will attract and reverse the conditioning of our minds and the minds of African people. We have our own platforms. We don't really need to be living in other people's social media houses. We have our own social media platforms that we can use to share those messages and begin to lift our people up. And while we're doing that, our ancestors and our Godheads are shifting time and space. In the same way that we live on an earth that is continuously spinning on its axis and we can't feel it, but we can see it through the natures of the key elements of the earth, then know that our ancestors and our Godheads are shifting time and space to meet us with the liberationary and revolutionary work that we are doing. So I'm going to end with the words of Joe Sample, who wrote one of the most foundational songs that picked me up as a child. The song is called When Your Life Was Low, and it was first performed by Randy Crawford on the album Now We May Begin. Because I grew up, my mum is a Garveyite, so I grew up in a revolutionary household. And so, you know, you look for meaning in songs, and I never really understood the meaning of the words that Joe Sample wrote until I became someone who did revolutionary and liberationary work for our people. And the words are, always remember, my friend, talking to Europeans, always remember, my friend, the world will turn again. And you may have to come back to everywhere you've been. When your life was low and you had nowhere to go, people turned their backs on you and everybody said that you were through. I took you in. I made you strong again. I put you back together out of all the dreams you left along the way. You left me shining. Now you're doing well. From stories I hear tell, you own the world again. Everyone's your friend. Although I never hear from you, still it's nice to know you used to love me so when your life was low. And for me, that encapsulates everything that is going to happen. The world is going to turn again. Make no mistake about it. And everywhere that these invaders and colonialists have been, everywhere, they're going to have to come back and come to heal.
Beautiful. So yes, beautiful, my sister. Absolutely powerful, powerful. Asante Sana, Asante Sana. And for the rest of the panel, our dear Dr. Reverend Philip Shock Matthews, Dr. Shanice Lindsay, and Dr. Asha Stephanie Udasi. It's been an honor to have you here and for you to speak on our platform for African Liberation Day, the launch of African Liberation Day on the 25th of May, African Liberation Day, and it shows just by how much we're affected. So we're still here. Over 100 people are still here, and we know that even more when we share this, and even more.
Is it possible I could do the affirmation of power, my beloved?
You know what, my brother? Absolutely. We'll end with your affirmation of power, because that is beautiful and strong.
Thank you, my beloved.
But what we will do is we'll just remind everybody about what's happening on Monday. So let me just add this to the stream. So, go. There we go. Yes. So I'm just taking out from my okay, and let's go back. Yes, there we go. There we are. So on Monday, we're at the West Indian Centre at 74 Carmel Road, Manchester, M13 0FB. So if you're in England and you are in around that area, please join us. Starting from 12, the program starts from 12 p.m., 9 p.m. The second day of our Africa Liberation Day. Doors opening at 10 a.m. We'll have reasonings on mental health and youth, in line with the theme of the overall theme of the Grand African Renaissance. And of course, we have our brother Robin Walker, who will be speaking. Let's go back. Yes, Robin Walker, who will be our keynote speaker. Who will be talking about. Let me just take this down. Who will be talking about the African Renaissance in terms of black history. So, you know, if you are there, please do join us. And regarding the stream here, when you see it and it's on live, please share. Yeah, share. Please go onto the other sites, onto sites for Dr. Rev, Dr. Asha, and Sister Shanice, and of course Galaxy Alpha We. And a big shout out to the Global African Congress UK, who helped sponsor ALD. Much respect, and for all the radio stations who've been playing and promoting the session. And can I ask again for the panel in the group chat that's public, if you can put your links or your site or whatever, so people can know how to contact you or follow you. Okay. So as we go into the final words of power that will be led by Dr. Rev Shock Matthews, asks if we would use the African tradition of meditation, of using our mirror and coming back to ourselves, and using breath, because breath is life. So what we're going to do, if you wish to join, is we're going to sit straight as best as we can, feet flat on the floor. If you wish to pick up your shoes, so you have connection, hands on your thighs. Your spine is straight, so that your 7 energy centers that are in line with your spine are in line. And we're going to breathe together. As we do, and we breathe together, and I'll lead on this, we do so with gratitude and appreciation for the all, the power, and the ancestors, for us all here, and all of us around the world, and everyone that this will touch. And we give thanks for African Liberation Day, and for us bringing into fruition our victory, which is already here. We just have to come into our right mind and grab it and become our limitless self. So, my dear sister, Dr. Shanice, can you give me a number that you're resonating with between 1 and 9?
5.
5, beautiful. 5 is a spiritual quantity for activity, for change. Absolutely what we're dealing with. So it shows you how spirit works. All we're going to do is going to do something like kettle drum breathing. So we're going to do is we're going to breathe out through our mouth. And as we do, pull in our stomach. So we empty our lungs. And then we're going to relax our stomach and breathe in through our nose. And that's one cycle. That's one breath. Okay? So breathing out. Relax, breathe in. Moja, Kiswahili, 1. Breathe out. Relax, breathe in. Mbili. Breathe out. Feeling more centered. Relax, breathe in. Tatu. Breathe out. All confusion leave us. Bring in our understanding and power. In there. Breathe out the final time. And relax. Breathe in. Tana. As we do open our eyes and feeling more centered and in our power, I'm going to hand over to our dear Reverend Dr. Philip Shock Matthews. You could close us.
Amma, we give you thanks and gratitude. We give thanks and gratitude to our ancestors for all of us to be able to be here in your name, in your nature, in your consciousness, to celebrate you, to celebrate the firstborn, to celebrate our mother, our father, our original frequency. We give thanks to all of those that are watching and will be watching. We know that we are blessed. We are highly favored. We are the first. We are the best of the best. We are the all of the allness. And we simply say, I am one with first frequency.
I am one with first frequency.
I am one with the first thought idea.
I am one
with the first
I am one with the first thought idea.
I am one with the firstborn people.
I am one with the firstborn people.
Therefore, I must be one with the only one.
Therefore, I must be one with the only.
I am one with the firstborn people.
Ashe.
Ashe.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Thank you, my beloveds.
Therefore, I must be one with the only one.
Beautiful. Sana, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And my brother, thank you so much. Asante Sana. What we're going to do, we're just going to
Ashe.
end. Ashe. We're going to end on the brilliant video. And I know he's there in the chat.
Thank you, family.
Thank you so much for creating this for Reverend Shock, the brilliant video, music video of Something Happened to Black People. So I'm going to bring that up, and that we end. So I will use that to close us off. So I would say, Kwaherini. It means goodbye in Kiswahili. And we say that that you go in peace and that you sleep well, or whatever you're going to do for the rest of your day until we meet again. Hakuna mwanzo na hakuna mwisho. There is no beginning and there is no end. Okay, beautiful, my people. So, hold on, family, and let while I share this with you. Banners. And yes, if just a kind of again, if you just place all your information in the chat. Mouse is driving to be a little bit temperamental. There we go.
You ain't got time to sit up and go, woe is me, oh, plum disease, my poor little old me. I ain't got time for that shit. I need to get to the promised land.
I'm here to help, trauma stored in the body. My ID me, can you help? They walking around with a head, nobody. Created this platform to teach and bring forth master teach and uplift our community and banish all the leeches. We ain't a dot or a nickel. The group never grow. The thinker who thinks the thought, let the masses know. We are the first and maybe the last. One with nature, not a sin against nature. Looking sad. I lost my mom and my dad looking bad, cooking chicken. When it got me a mask, because being broke didn't fit. It's never too late, you part of the greats. Let me rub off on you. Just remember it ain't your fault. I can give you all the time. Nothing is wrong with black people. Something happened to black people. Nothing is wrong with black people. Something happened to black people. Africana phenomenologist, hermetic scientist, digital was creation, metamorphosis, epigenetics, diginomics, first frequency of oneness, FBA, no religion, I'm a vision. Nothing is wrong with black people. Something happened to black people. Nothing is wrong with black people. Something happened to black people. Africana phenomenologist, hermetic scientist, digital was creation, metamorphosis, epigenetics, diginomics, first frequency of oneness, FBA, no religion, I'm a vision.
What does that look like for you? Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Are you tired of complaining about white folks? Are you tired of complaining about black folks?
I am one with first frequency, one with the first thought idea. I am one with the firstborn people. I am one with the only one. Ashe, and so it is. I am one with first frequency, one with the first thought idea. I am one with the firstborn people. I am one with the only one. Ashe, and so it is. I am one with first frequency, one with the first thought idea. I am one with the firstborn people. I am one with the only one. Ashe, and so it is. I am one with first frequency, one with the first thought idea. I am one with the firstborn people. I am one with the only one. Ashe, and so it is. Nothing is wrong with black people. Something happened to black people. Nothing is wrong with black people. Something happened to black people. Africana phenomenologist, hermetic scientist, digital was creation, metamorphosis, epigenetics, diginomics, first frequency of oneness, FBA, no religion, I'm a vision. Nothing is wrong with black people. Something happened to black people. Nothing is wrong with black people. Something happened to black people. Rev Shock. Rev Shock. Rev Shock. Rev Shock.
Beautiful. Kwaherini. Asante sana. Asanteni sana.
Our family, one love.